gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 180. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Down in the comment section, let me know. Are you going to be investing in Scotty Scheffler this week? Because his numbers, both betting-wise and Draftkings, are absolutely outrageous, and I am very interested to see if a lot of people are going to go there. On the betting side, probably not so much. On the DraftKings side, I guess we'll get into that because that's what we're going to dive into this week. The CJ Cup Byron Nelson. Quickly recap the Zurich. Kind of sucks. It's not the best tournament. I mean, they really need to bring match play back. I was lucky I only made 2 outrights and got a sweat with the Hoygaards, and unfortunately, they couldn't make some short putts. Just missed that one on 16. Obviously, caught a break on 18, but it was a little bit too little too late. So got a little sweat out of it and had a profitable week. But just the Zurich sucks altogether. I mean, if I didn't have that sweat, I probably wouldn't have watched a single second of that tournament. It just does nothing for me. Obviously, the bulk of the community just takes the week off, and some people don't even bet or play DraftKings at all. It was just it's not fun. I really wish they would bring back the match play because it just was a lot more engaging and exciting in my mind. But anyways, we'll get over that and head into this week, the Byron Nelson. Pretty fun tournament. I mean, the field is pretty crappy, pretty weak, but we do get to see a birdie fest. It's nice to see these tournaments every once in a while. This stretch of golf is not great until, basically we get, well, it used to be Quail Hollow, but obviously we will have a different venue to go over next week, and then we have the PGA Championship. So we got some good golf around the corner. Just got to get through these weeks and gonna make the best of it because I do think that this week could be pretty fun and basically treat it like a Corn Ferry event with Scotty in the field because that's basically what we're looking at here. But if we dive into the course, TPC Craig Ranch, 7,440 yard par 71. Now, it does have bent grass greens. There is a creek that runs through the property. Water's in play in about 13 holes. There's 83 bunkers in all, so a lot of sand play can come into play here. The bulk of the yardage on the course comes from the par 4s. 5 of the 10 are par 4s from 450 to 500 yards. One of them is under 350 and one of them is over 500 yards. So, I mean, we have 6 holes here, par 4s, that are 450 and above. So some long holes there. 3 of the 4 par 3s are over 200 yards. So get a lot of long shots on that one as well. And then the 3 par 5s are obviously the easiest holes on the course, range from 550 to 600 yards. Now, Bombers do have a slight advantage here. You definitely want to try and mash it off the tee. There's not a ton of trouble here. Supposedly they are going to be growing out the rough a little bit more than what we've seen in the past, but average drive comes in at 295 yards, which is well above tour average. And then fairways are still hit at a 61% clip, which is basically right at tour average. So really without a lot of penalty off the tee, you will see guys mashing it out there with the driver. And if they have a little bit of distance, it is definitely helpful to make these approach shots a little bit shorter because long irons are an absolute must here. 36% of all approach shots come from over 200 yards. So you got to have guys that are dialed in with those long irons. I mean, over a third of all approach shots are going to come from over 200 yards. So that is definitely a key stat we got to look at this week. Despite the lengthy approach shots, hitting greens really isn't all that difficult. Greens in regulation percentage comes in a little bit higher than tour average at 71%. And then missing greens isn't necessarily the end of the world here because scrambling is a little bit easier around these green complexes. Now, it's interesting. Sand saves actually come into play quite a bit. You would think that if you're going in the sand too much, I mean, really, you're just killing yourself at a birdie fest. But we've actually seen the guys that come in the top 5 here more than double the rest of the field in sand saves. So there are going to be some spots where you got to get out of trouble here with all these bunkers. But as I said, around the green and scrambling around here is easier. We see guys chip in all the time here. So that could play into some guys games here, and we can see guys chipping in for eagle, guys chipping in for birdie, chipping in to maybe even save a par if all of a sudden they had a rough hole. So it's definitely interesting what guys can get up to here, but you definitely want to take a look at the approach a little bit off the tee. Definitely want to see that over 200-yard proximity with the irons, and then opportunities gained and birdies are better are definitely going to be very important in this what will be a birdie fest. 156 golfers in the field, top 65 in ties obviously make the weekend. As I said, it's a birdie fest. So the 4 times we've played here, the cut was last year 5 under, 3 under the year before, 4 under in 2022, and 5 under in 2021. So guys are definitely going to go low here. Pendrith was 23 under when he won last year. Jason Day was also 23 under when he won in 2023. KH Lee went 26 under in 2022. And basically, we're looking at a lot of birdies here. Now, before we dive into the DraftKings side of things, might as well go through my betting card. I actually have the entire card filled out. So make a case for some of these guys here. Jordan Spieth, I actually like him quite a bit this week. 22-1. He's had some good performances here at Craig Ranch. He missed the cut last year, but previously came second in 2022. He gained just under 6.5 strokes on approach, just under 12 strokes tee to green. He came ninth in 2021, also was playing well with the irons that year. Gained strokes off the tee in all 3 of his appearances at Craig Ranch, so has played well here in the past. And he's been pretty good so far this year. 5 top 25 finishes, 3 of which are in his last 3 tournaments. 12th at the Valero, 14th at the Masters, and 18th most recently at the RBC Heritage. So playing some good golf coming in. He's gained strokes off the tee in all 3 of those tournaments. Been putting well, gaining strokes on the green in 5 of his last 6. And I just think that this is a place that suits him well. I think he's shown flashes this year and just kind of had a couple holes here and there that kind of cost him around or cost him from contending. But I definitely think on an easy course like this, as we said, if guys can chip in here and there, we know that's definitely in his game. So I liked it at 22-1. In a weak field, I think it's a good number for him. Siwoo Kim I got at 33-1 with a top 6 each way. He's also played well at Craig Ranch the last 2 years, 13th last year, second in 2023, gained 7.5 and 9.1 strokes tee to green respectively. So striking the ball well when he plays here. His worst round over that span is a 68. He has 3 rounds of 65 or better. So this is a place where he has definitely played well, been good this year, has 5 top 25 finishes, 8th most recently at the Heritage. He's playing good golf. It's a place that looks to suit him pretty well, and he's second in birdies or better when scoring relative to par is easy, and that's what it's going to be this week. So he's top 20 in opportunities gained over the last 24 rounds. I really like where his game's at and think he could set up some scoring opportunities and do some damage here. Jaeger at 40. I originally bet Keith Mitchell. He obviously withdrew, so I'm going with Jaeger. 40-1, top 6 each way on him as well. Also, some good finishes at the Byron Nelson over the last 3 years. 20th last year, 11th in 2023. Gained an average of 5.6 strokes in his 3 appearances here, tee to green, so definitely like that. He's played pretty well, 2 top 10 finishes this year, made the cut in 5 straight. He's gained strokes on approach in all 5 of those tournaments, so I do like where he's at over the last 24 round. Fourth in birdies or better, 5th in strokes gained approach. Knapp 66-1 with a top 6 each way as well. I just think that this is a course that will suit him. Been playing well. I think a little bit of length off the tee, the iron game that he has, I think make a ton of sense here. So I do like Knapp at 66-1. Then I went with Valimaki at 100-1. Now, obviously, he's been playing good golf as well. Some good finishes here recently. I definitely like where his game is at. Got him at 100-1 with the top 6 each way. And just, I really like what I've seen out of him. Obviously, 4th at Houston, 12th at Valero, 18th at the Heritage. He's gained strokes on approach in 5 straight. He's gained with the putter in 4 straight, in 8 of his last 9. So I mean, if you're striking those long irons well and making putts, you are definitely going to be there come Sunday. So I do like that quite a bit for him. And then I just took a long shot stab at pot getter at 250 to 1. Just love that number. Love a guy that, in a birdie fest can come out a lot of not a lot of trouble. He can use his distance to his advantage, and if he's missing greens or getting off course, there's not too much trouble, and he could maybe make up for it if he can make some putts. So I do like that, and that's my card so far. I do have a little bit of room for someone a little bit down the board, maybe a Toasty. Kind of missed the good numbers on him. Maybe Damon, but worry a little bit about his putting. But I'll throw it up on Twitter when I figure out who I'm going to add, because I'm definitely going to be adding probably one more guy. But if we hop into DraftKings this week, it obviously, as it does every week, starts with Scotty. As I said, I don't see a lot of people betting him. I've seen him as low as 250. So plus 250 is not bettable in a golf tournament. I don't care who's in it. He's played well here in the past. Obviously, he can come out here and just smoke this field and win by 5, and it's never even close. But I will say that in a birdie fest, it kind of mitigates his skill set or just how well he can play. I mean, you see the cream rise to the top on more difficult golf courses, and really we just see complete randos come up in these birdie fests come Sunday at the top of the leaderboard. So I do think that is one of the cases you can make against Scotty this week is we could see a complete shitbag under 100 to 1 come out here and actually win this thing. So when you're paying 13,300 for Scotty, it's almost $3,000 more than Spieth, who's the second highest. And I mean, when you start building lineups, you're at $7,300 average remaining. You can put 3 guys in the 9K range and have that left. So obviously the talent gap is huge from Scotty to those guys in the 9K range, and you can make a case this week that you definitely can play these guys in the 6K range and lower 7K range, and they're probably not that much different skill wise to the guys up in the 7K range or low 8K range. But I just think if you're going to go Scotty this week, you should probably go 100%, at least 80%, because I think you want to get as many combinations with these lower skilled golfers as you possibly can with him, because you're going to have to dip down there. You're not going to feel comfortable with a lot of those guys. So I think the more lineups you can get with Scotty in it, and the more combinations you can get with some of those lower priced guys, I think makes a ton more sense. So that's what I would be looking at this week. I still expect him to probably at least be 30% owned in this field. I would assume, just with the discrepancy in skill, it makes a ton of sense for people to still go there. So I do expect him to still get ownership. If it looks like he's coming in a little bit lower, I might get there on him. But as of right now, I don't think I am going to be playing Scotty Scheffler. As I said, I like Spieth as a bet. I like him as a DraftKings play as well, because I do think people will go up to Scotty or they will dip down below here and probably start in this 9K range. So I like Spieth for that reason. I already made the case why I like him at this course. So I'm fine going there. Sungjae, I don't think anybody's going to play from a game theory standpoint. If you're playing some 20 max, 150 max, makes some sense to get him. Hasn't really been playing incredible. Obviously, you're going to hear all week that he just missed the cut in Korea, and how can he be the defending champ and miss the cut there? But it's one tournament. It means nothing. And we're saying there's a huge discrepancy in skill from a lot of the guys in the field compared to the top here. You could definitely make a case that Sungjae could be in your player pool and probably at a low ownership. Same thing with Burns. I mean, he hasn't really shown much this year. I lean more towards Sungjae. Just I think he's a little bit more well suited for this game. But if Burns gets the putter going, obviously he can contend any week. Ben Hyun-an is going to be an ownership play for me. I do expect him to be pretty popular. Obviously has some good finishes here the past couple years. Has been playing better golf and looks like it could be a place that suits him. Obviously, you don't want to rely on his putter. So can he really contend in a birdie fest? I think he came 4th here last year, so he has that going for him, and obviously was able to contend pretty well last year, 4th and 14th the last 2 years. So definitely like where his game's at. Obviously has some success here in the past, but I want to see how popular he's going to get. If he's getting very popular, I'm fine skipping over him. Probably not going to play Pendrith. I get that he's the defending champ. I don't really know that the game is there right now. He's shown some flashes, but I'd probably rather get to some of these other guys. Outside of that fifth place at Houston, he hasn't really looked great. I mean, it's mainly been struggling around the greens. And as we said, if it's a little bit easier to scramble here around the greens, maybe he can make up for it with the ball striking and tee to green game. But I'm probably not going to get there on him, despite the fact that he is the defending champ. I do like Siwoo Kim quite a bit here. I would expect that he gets a little bit popular. 9,400 is a very good price for him. Same as Jaeger, 9,300. I think a lot of people will actually start their lineups with maybe one or even both of those guys. And then also Mackenzie Hughes, too. I think he gets pretty popular here. He has been playing good golf this year. Now, obviously, it's pretty odd. It's the short game that's kind of been letting him down a little bit here, but recently he has looked good in every facet of the game. Third place at the Heritage, 10th at Houston, 36th at the Valspar. He gained in every strokes gain metric in all three of those tournaments. So I do like him quite a bit. I was thinking about potentially making a bet on him. Don't have room on the card now, but I will absolutely be playing him in DraftKings, and I would expect him to be one of the higher owned in this area. I do think I'm going to play Rasmus 8,900. Just obviously, as I said, I had the bet on the brothers last week, and just watching them, it did look like he was kind of carrying the team. Now, obviously, you can get Nikolai at a little bit lower of a price, but I think Rasmus is the one that I'm going to go with here at 8,900. And I don't know how popular he gets, but obviously has some distance off the tee. I do think that he can make some birdies and make some putts here. So I like him quite a bit. Zalatoris is another one for me, similar in the vein of him and Burns. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. You're going to hear the narrative of, you want him on more difficult courses, can't really make enough putts on birdie fest. I do agree with that, but if nobody's going to play him, he is obviously one of the more skilled golfers in this field. Same goes for Tom Kim. I probably just can't get there. He has been absolutely lost with the driver and not great from over 200 yards with the irons. So I'd probably stay away from Tom Kim, wait till we get a little bit shorter of a course here. Ryan Gerard, I expect to be extremely popular at 8,600. I'm fine skipping over him and hoping that the heater comes to an end. But I definitely could see why people are making a case for him and do see that he could be a good play. Maybe as the week goes on, if his ownership isn't too crazy, I get there, but I'd rather play Knapp. I would assume he's also going to be pretty popular, but 8,400 for him, I think is a good price. 11th in birdies or better over the last 24 rounds. He's okay at over 200 yards with the irons, but I do like where he's at and do like that he has a little bit of driving distance to go with it. He's actually been putting very well recently too. You got to make those putts inside of 10 feet here, and he's 15th in the field over the last 24 rounds from that range. So I do like where he's at. Ryo Hisasune, same thing. Just the guy has been playing great golf. I think this is a pretty good price for him at 8,300. If he continues on this trajectory, we're going to see him in the upper 8K, lower 9K range in some of these weaker fields coming up soon. So I am willing to take the discount in salary with him at the moment. He is good on those longer iron shots, so I will definitely be playing him. Willing to go back in on Smalley. I just think he is one of the more skilled golfers in this field. Hasn't been great recently. I think he's missed 3 straight cuts coming in, but he's good off the tee, has a pretty good short game. He's actually third on the par fours from 450 to 500, 7th in sand saves, 27th in eagles, 28th in birdies or better. He has some things that you like here, and just hope he can get back to the form that he was in earlier in the year. Thorbjorn Olesen, someone I'm considering, has been playing pretty good golf recently. Don't know if I'm going to get there on him. I will be playing Kevin Yu, though. I would expect him to garner a little bit of ownership. 7,800 is a pretty good price. Statistically looks very good. He's 5th in my model. 5th off the tee over the last 24 rounds, 11th in opportunities gain. He's 10th on approach, 6th in eagles gain. So I like where his game's at. Mainly just going to come down to whether or not he can make some putts there. Isaiah Salinda, I do like him at 7,500. A little bit hit or miss, but has been playing pretty good golf. Obviously, has a very strong off the tee game, 13th in birdies or better over the last 24 rounds. Has a little bit of distance, so do like that. Not great with the long irons, but I do like where he's at. Just want to keep an eye on his ownership. Speaking of ownership, everybody's favorite bad boy, Alejandro Tosti. I would expect he's going to be pretty popular as far as a bet and DraftKings play goes. As of right now, I'm going to play him, but if he just gets out of control ownership, I'm fine going to Valimaki and Damon right below him. I think that they could garner some ownership themselves, especially Valimaki, but I'd expect Toasty to be a little bit higher owned. I would guess, as I said, the Scotty lineups leaving basically this price of 7,300 left. I would expect a lot of Scotty, Valimaki, and Toasty lineups. That just seems like a very popular start for a lot of people this week. But I do like this range and these three golfers priced at 7,300. Cam Davis, 7,100. Hasn't been a great year for him, but I mean, we're now playing at a weaker field at a birdie fest. He's 8th in birdies or better over the last 24 rounds. He's got a little bit of distance off the tee. He came 13th at RBC Heritage after just atrocious outings back to back to back here coming in. So a little bit of flashes last week at the Zurich. I think it's fine at 7,100 to get there on him in some larger field stuff. I would expect he's going to be pretty low owned. And I think with the long irons and a little bit of distance off the tee, he can set up some opportunities and can make some birdies. So I like him quite a bit here. I think one of the reasons I'm not going to play Scotty here is a lot of these guys you can make a case for down here, but none of them really stand out head and shoulders above the rest. So that's why I said I think you have to allocate a ton of lineups to really get there on any of these guys. Now, one guy that I think potentially you could play is Matty Schmid. Hasn't really been great recently. Several missed cuts in his last couple tournaments, but has a little bit of what you like here. So he's 16th in birdies or better, 11th from 200 plus yards with the irons. He has a little bit of driving distance, 16th from 175 to 200. So don't mind him. I actually like Hayden Springer here quite a bit at 7K. 13th in opportunities gained, 14th in birdies or better, 20th on strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. I do think that he is a guy that is trending in the right direction. Had a 6 back at the Farmers, but 15th at Houston most recently, 42nd at the Players isn't that bad. This is a weaker field. He's been playing pretty good golf, so I'm fine going to him here, and I think it's a pretty good price for him. So I do like Hayden Springer quite a bit here. And then Pot Getter, depending on how popular he gets, probably going to throw him in the player pool at 6,800. Bramlett for me rates out incredibly well, has played well at TPC Craig Ranch in the past. He's 9th off the tee, 1st in opportunities gained, 15th from 200 plus yards, 22nd on approach, 16th in driving distance, has a lot of what you want here, has some pretty good course history, just hasn't really been playing great golf lately. So I want to see what his ownership gets up to if he's getting a little bit popular, because as I said, guys are going to be searching for guys in the 6K range, and statistically he clearly stands out. If he's a little popular, I'm fine going elsewhere. And at the same price, I actually like Carson Young quite a bit at 6,700. He is 19th off the tee over the last 24 rounds, 18th in opportunities gained. He's 17th from 175 to 200 yards. Don't think that he's too bad of a play down here at the same price as Bramlett, especially as a pivot if Bramlett's getting pretty popular. He came 14th here back in 2023, 30th last year. So at this price, I mean, if he can finish there and make some birdies, he can actually perform pretty well at that price. And then as low as I'm probably going to go is probably Nate Lashley. Not really a guy that's been incredible this year, but recently playing much better golf. Went on a long miscut streak, but 64th at the Valspar, not great, but at least he made the cut. 27th at Houston and 12th at the Valero. So rounding back into form here, I do think that you can make a case to get there on him, and that's basically what I'm looking at here. That's going to be my player pool, and that's where we're going. So big decision is going to be on Scotty. As I said, I don't think I'm going to get there, but that's what we're looking at for this week. As always, check out thehelmsports.com. Have my preview up over there. Everything broken down, breaking down the course, recent history, key stats, golfers to consider, all that fun stuff. I will have the bets up in the My Bets tab Wednesday evening. If you want the bets the second I make them, as I said, my card is pretty much already done. I have everything already in there in the MadLabMMA.com Discord. The second I make them, they go into the Discord so you can get the numbers that I get instantly. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, greatly appreciated for everyone that is reading everything, listening on a weekly basis. It is greatly appreciated. If you feel like leaving a review for it, that would be very helpful, and I would appreciate that as well. But that's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Derek Helm. And remember,
just have fun out there.